my screen is visible. I think it is now. So
Yes.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Let me start my slideshow. Okay, so I'm just going to move the Teams chat window over to one side so that I can see what you're doing. Okay, hello everybody. I don't really speak any Portuguese. I can say hola, and it's all Brazilian Portuguese that I'm familiar with. And I don't know whether it works in regular Portuguese, but tudo bem is the other thing I know as well. So that's my entire level of Portuguese. So that's all I can do. As you all know by now, RAD Studio 13 Florence is now available, and it's been a lot of work. A lot of you don't know that we actually work on this for at least a year before we release it. So when you see me doing webinars where I'm talking about 12.2 and 12.3, we actually have been doing things on 13 as well in the background. So we don't just do 12.2, 12.3, and 13. We actually work on multiple things at the same time. It's a very, very big release, and these slides are part of the launch deck. There are a lot of them, so I'm going to skip some of them, particularly the ones to do with C++, because I understand that Nuno, who is one of our PMs, has already done some talk about that. And actually, we have Nuno, Maxim, who is our C++ PM, and one of our marketing directors, actually a very high up marketing director, Will, also lives in Portugal as well. So Portugal's deep in our hearts. We are very pleased to be associated with you. So RAD Studio 13 Florence, the big thing were a few language features that we added. We did try and add a few more, but after some discussion, we held back. We want to only add them when they're correct. We also did some very big upgrades for C++ Builder, and it's now using CLang 20, which if you're not a C++ person will mean nothing. But for the C++ people, it's a very, very big deal. It means that we mostly support C++ 23, which we actually support as much or equal to any Microsoft compiler or any compiler out there. So that's a really big thing for us. We finished the 64-bit IDE, and that allows you to open bigger projects. It is only for Windows at the moment, but we are gradually going to add more platforms to that as we go along. We've also done some work on Visual Assist and code tooling. Again, if you're not a C++ person, that might mean nothing to you. We have some new AI components. They are not available yet, but they will be released in Get It any day now. We're hoping probably today or tomorrow, but we're not quite sure. We had to do some more work on them. The thing about AI is it's always changing, and you know, these things happen, don't they? That just when you think you're doing well, the AI people make some change. I'm just going to move my window over a minute because it's in the way. Speaking Portuguese very well, said one of the people. Yes, well, what can I say? I can say, can I have a beer in about 10 languages? That's it. Some new VCL stuff, which is kind of cool, and new FMX controls. The big thing for us was some changes to web broker and web stencils. Web stencils is very important to us because it's one of those things that allow you to argue with people who say, hey, you should have a web interface, and it allows you to create real web pages. You can give those web stencils pages, they're just normal web pages, give them to a web developer, and they will understand exactly how to use it. They'll use all their regular web development tools, and it will work in the background with Delphi. So Delphi is doing what it's good at, the back end of a web project, and Web Stencils engine is doing the serving up and creation of HTML with a web developer, or even yourself if you're into it. I'm going to skip over this slide because I think you all know what RAD Studio is. Otherwise, why would you be here? Programming languages and compilers. Well, the big new addition to RAD Studio 13 and Delphi 13's language version is a thing called the ternary operator. You do see it in other languages like C, where you see that question mark and colon. It's not obvious, but it's actually not the same as the if-then operator or function that you've probably seen before. What it allows you to do is actually have a conditional expression. So anywhere you can use an expression, as you can see there, where it says the button one click and all the rest of it, you can put this ternary operator in. It was our number one requested feature, number one. And we have got some others as well that we're going to gradually get to. But ternary operator was by far the most requested feature. You can use it in all sorts of expressions, and there is a big set of rules. No more if then, says Daniello. Yes, exactly. No more if then. You can throw that out the window. You don't need it. There is a demo on GitHub that I wrote that's a very cool demo, if I say so myself, which shows you how this works under all conditions. There's a very big table about when you can use the if then statement and what the result will be. The most important thing is that it uses what's known as lazy evaluation. What that means is that if you have some functions, so if you say if condition, then some function, else another function, it will only evaluate whatever thing is selected. So if you see the word small there on the screen, if that was a function, that would only be evaluated if this was true, this statement here. But if the condition here, the expression here was false, then this would only be evaluated. Now, the if-then function doesn't work like that. It will evaluate all sides of the argument, and so that would be very bad. You can have some unwanted side effects. You can end up, let's say it's a class that you're trying to assign in an expression here. You can end up assigning something that is not assigned, is a null value or something like that. So it is a very big addition to Delphi, very useful one. Some people say, I don't see the point, but trust me, once you start seeing how to use it, you think, oh, actually, this is very, very cool. The other big Delphi addition was a name of intrinsic function. This allows you to get the name of all sorts of identifiers, so that if you're using generics and that kind of generic code, then name of helps you work out what the actual class name was and a few other things as well. There are some new compiler directives. So if you use conditional compilation, and I know not everybody does, but some people use it very heavily. I do, for example. Sometimes you set in your code some options. You might say, if it's iOS, then do this, and if it's Android, do that, and if it's Windows, do this. And you can get to the point where you turn off hints or you turn on hints, and you can lose where your original compiler definitions are. With the push opt and pop opt compiler directives, you can push the current settings, make all the compiler directive changes you want, compile that code section, and then at the end of it, you can say pop opt and return back to a known state. It's a small thing, but it's very important. It's similar to the C++ pragma option push, if you know what it is. And also now you can also have an implicit self parameter declaration in record class operators. Again, if you don't know what that means because you don't ever use that, then it's going to mean nothing, but it does make typing some code easier. A couple of other very useful Delphi language features are the is not and not in operators. You could do this before in Delphi, but you had to use brackets. So if you see that top line there where it says if not something is a particular class, it makes sense, but it's a bit clumsy. Well, now you can say if that object is not a specific class. So it simplifies and removes the need to put things like brackets around the condition there. Again, a small change, but one that actually a lot of people ask for and is very, very useful. And another one, again, which is another small change, but again, it's very useful if you're a long-time Delphi person, and that is a thing called no return. How many times have you seen the error message, the return value of the function might be undefined? It happens all the time, and what you end up having to do is put in a line of code to assign a value to a variable that you know actually because of exceptions or something like that is never going to be used. And the only reason you do that is because you're trying to avoid this warning. Because if you're like me, you try to make your code compile without any errors, any warnings, and preferably no hints. Well, now you can add no return at the end of it, and that message will go away. It'll go, okay, well, I was going to warn you that there was no return value defined, but you understand that, so we're cool, we'll carry on. So useful for when you're doing raising exceptions and something might exit early and then you later deal with that exception. Additional constraints for generic types. So you can now constrain a specific generic type to an interface or an unmanaged, which not a lot of people use, and then non-null. Again, these are probably, if you don't know what that means, then you're probably never going to use them, but you will see it pop up in code. I've seen already some runtime library stuff that actually refers to these, so I know we've used it personally. And we've extended the if option directive. And now you can say if a particular option is turned on, then you can do something. So you can actually now change your conditional compilation very, very narrowly as well. Again, not terribly useful if you never use it, but actually for those that need it, it was one of those life-saving quality of life enhancements is what I call it. I'm not going to talk too much about C++. We've already mentioned that it now introduces C++ 23 support. This makes us use the absolutely latest version of C++. It's a big upgrade of the tool chain. It makes the C++ builder equivalent to anything out there. Pick an IDE that's compiling C++ and we match it and probably exceed it. We've done some tests and we know we're quicker than many other compilers, which is a very good thing. Behind the scenes, a lot of LLVM stuff is going on, and it's a big thing. You can choose which standard your C++ adheres to. And again, Nuno, I believe, has been around and can talk more about that. But you can say, oh, I want to use ISO 17 standard if you want to use an older version. And if you want to use the very latest ISO C++ 23, then you can pick that as well. But again, we're trying to put the choice in your hands to make things happy. Small changes, but important ones. We've done some changes to the installation. That means that the platform installer is a bit improved. Now, we know that the installer's got a long way to go. For example, uninstalling get-it packages seems to take 5 lifetimes to happen. We're looking into that and trying to improve that as well. It's still going to take a while if you are uninstalling, but if this is a new install of RAD Studio 13, then you probably won't notice. But the one big thing is that we no longer ship the Windows SDK. This is due to some changes that Microsoft made, but you do need the Windows SDK in order for certain things to work. When you go to use a project that needs Windows for the first time, the Windows SDK, if you haven't installed the SDK, it will ask you. So if you choose not to do it when you're doing the installer, at some point when you go to use a project or create a project that uses the Windows SDK, it's going to ask you to install the Windows SDK. It takes me about 5 minutes, maybe, on an average speed machine to install it. It's fairly easy and you don't need to reboot. We've also improved the installer experience as well, so made a few cool things happen. We've also, big change, unified all the internal version numbers to 37. So PA server is PA server 37. The compiler is 370. That's because the compiler was already having a 0 at the end. And things like registry keys and program paths are all 37 now. So you would think there would be 24 because they're, RAD Studio 12.3 was 23, but no, we've decided to unify everything and go towards 37. There is a new variable called predefined constant, actually, which says the FireMonkey version. There is actually a little bit of a problem with that at the moment in that it's out of date and doesn't match 37, but it should do. So we're looking into that. And as I said earlier, we've completed the 64-bit IDE. There are some things that are going to still need to be done. One thing is that the Get It package manager in there, you have to actually install your Get It packages in the 32-bit IDE. Because right now, for now, the Get It package manager in 64-bit is read-only. To be honest, unless you're installing packages from Get It every single day, it's going to be fine. It's inconvenient, but it's okay. We had to stop at some point, and we said, okay, well, that's the change we're going to do. Lots of more code tooling. We removed UML modeling. We also removed code formatting because we had to, and we also had to remove the refactor menu. I'm sorry about that. A lot of people very unhappy about the code formatting going, which was surprising. But we have got some alternatives for it. In particular, and by the way, we will bring it back. It's just right now it was at a point where you couldn't really fix it and make it any better. It was relying on some very ancient code and some .NET stuff, so we just had to remove that. So the modeling's gone, the code formatting and the refactor have gone. However, we recommend that you install MMX Code Explorer. We've been working with Uwe, who is the MVP, the creator and maintainer of MMX, and I'll be doing a webinar about what this can do. The reason we recommend MMX is it actually adds much more refactoring. It's way better than what was there before. So yes, we took away the code refactoring that was broken, but MMX Explorer does a way better job. We also recommend, or I recommend, and there isn't a slide for this, there is a code formatter. I'm going to put it in the chat that I recommend. Let me see if I can find it, because I've been doing a lot of work and maybe it's not in my let me just see if I can find it. No, I'll put the link to the code formatter in the chat a little bit later, so you know. But there's a very good code formatter that does understand modern Delphi and doesn't choke on things like inline vars like the old formatter did. Like I say, we are bringing it back, but for now, definitely recommend MMX Explorer. We also moved our debuggers along to version 20 of LLDB, and we improved the quality of the debugger, and it's a lot better than it was. We also made things like C++ debugging of Delphi artifacts work more like Delphi, so they look more Delphi-like when you see them rather than gobbledygook. And we also improve the visualization of some things in the debugger as well. Yeah, there's the link to MMX. I will also put the link in for PAS format in a moment in the chat. You can attach the process dialog box, which you always could do before, but now the new dialog box is a lot better than it was. One very good improvement all around in the IDE are you can search almost anywhere in the IDE. So if you're in the structure pane or the project window and you want to look for something, you know, a particular class or a variable or something like that, if you hit Control and F for Freddy, Control F, it will leap up to the top here where it says the little box will appear for the find window. You can then type in and it will narrow down that list as you go along. So it's incremental search. And this will work in almost anywhere where there is a tool window. So messages, the project window, the structure window, and so many others as well. It does highlighting as well, so you can see what it is. It's again, it's one of these quality of life things, but actually once you start using it, you think, why didn't he do this before? Because it's very useful. For the message log, we also do much more highlighting as well. So it makes it clearer when you've got an error message and what that error message is and what it relates to. Because sometimes when it was all the same color, it was difficult to see which ones were which. We also group the hints and warnings now by the source code file. Simple change, but actually makes life a lot easier. So now you don't get a whole list of errors and have to work out which files they belong to. It will group them together into the file category that they belong to. IDE quality, we've improved code insight. We have some more coming. You now can test the connection feature in the configuration dialog, improvements to the prompts and response processing in the Smart Code Insight. Just after we released RAD Studio 13, we understand that there was some changes. I think it was to ChatGPT, one of them anyway, made some changes, and we're exploring that at the moment. They just changed their API without announcing it to anybody. However, we have worked out that it still works, but that's just one of those things. You can use the editor background color for editor tabs, and a few other things as well. So these are, again, quality of life, but also improvements as well. Tools API, if you write add-ins for the IDE, then there's some new features in there. Very, very useful for those of you that do it. We've also now given you the option to choose your resource compiler. So if you build resources into your project, so let's say language resources or custom cursors or you name it, whatever you want to put in a resource, some graphics or something like that, we now give you the choice of resource compiler. We personally, we recommend Resonator, which is an open source project. The reason is it's better than Microsoft's resource compiler, and it's better than our own Borland one. Borland one is pretty much unchanged for a long time. Resonator's up to date and being actively maintained. So if in the future some new resource formats come out, then you can rely on something like Resonator to do it. We use the default in the build system for Resonator because it's so good. But you can, if you don't like that and you want to go back to the old Borland one or use Microsoft's one, then go ahead, it's in there. We've made some changes to Get It. Get It allows you now to install different versions of packages. So let's say, for example, you're using SynEdit, which is very, very popular, or I don't know, so, some smart tree or something like that, and there are different versions, and your code relies on a specific version. Let's say the new version has got some bugs in it or works differently to the way you'd like. You can now, down at the bottom there, when you go to install, if you click on the little drop down here, you can actually then choose an older version and install that instead, and choose your versions. Get It 13, this is only available for Get It 13, is this versioning support. And it also, when you have dependencies in your project, if you say, if you go into the project manager and say get it dependencies, it will know which version you're dependent on, and it will actually help, if it's available, install a specific older version. Very, very useful. Once you've installed it, this is such a cool change. You now can, and it's simple as well, you can now tell it, oh, where on earth did it install that? How many times have we installed something from Get It and you can't find it again? You know it's probably in some document folder or something like that. Well, really simple change is you can now select Open Install Folder, and it will open the folder where the thing got installed. Now, I cannot tell you how happy I am we put this in, because things like style resources, I was forever losing them, and project like that. But now you can actually go to it and say, "Oh, where is it?" and it will show you. Very useful change. You can ability to install the install packages to a string, and so you can say, "Well, what are my installed packages?" And you can then use them in the get it command line thing as well. So if you use the get it command, you can set a project up, and let's say you work in a team, you can then export the installed packages so that you've got an environment you like, export them to a string, and then use a get it command on each of those other workers, so your colleagues, and then automate the install of the get it packages. Again, it's a little time saver, small thing, but very, very useful. We also have released a feature that turned out to be too popular, and that is a new AI documentation tool. And I want to emphasize its documentation. So it's been trained on the doc wiki, it's been trained on the help files, it's been trained on our samples, it's also been trained on some of my videos with the translations as well in there. That is where you can go to it, docwiki, embarcadero.com/RAD Studio. So it knows those things. It doesn't know, and I'm going to stop people from doing this. It doesn't, if you type in "who is Ian Barker," it won't know who I am at the moment. The reason I mention this is on Facebook. We have one Facebook group that has 15,000 people on it, and someone typed that into the AI interface, the help interface, which is this one, and then said, "Oh, it doesn't even know who Ian Barker is." And then they typed in "who is Marco Cantu," and it doesn't know. And we then had 1,000 people ask the same question, and I then got an angry message from one of my bosses saying, "Are you typing in stupid questions about yourself into the AI?" Because if you ask it a question about something which it doesn't understand or doesn't know the answer, it logs that so that we try and improve it over time. And they got thousands of people saying, "Who is Ian Barker?" which was hilarious. That wasn't me. But we'll talk about that more later, but it's available as a RAD AI companion. That's what it's called. We also have some very cool new components. This is the Smart Core AI components. These are components that are for use in your own projects, so your own applications. It's the smart code inside, just to make it clear, is inside the IDE for you to type your code and get some help from the AI. But this Smart Core AI component pack is for AI in your own apps. To give you an idea of how it works, we originally thought about having it called FireDAC for AI. And we had to think about that, and it didn't really make sense. So in the end, we chose Smart Core AI. And it's a building block. We're going to add more in the future. It has an AI connection component, a bit like a FireDAC FD connection. And you can then have drivers. So you can say, "Oh, I want to talk to OpenAI, I want to talk to Claude, or I want to talk to Olama." And then there are request types. So a bit like you have a T table or a T query or a FD table, FD query, you now have similar things for AI. It enables your applications to really build in AI in a way that's future-proof. So as new versions of AI come along, we will add more drivers to it as well. And in fact, there is a custom driver, so you can write your own if you want. But this is how it looks. So there you have a connection component, just like the FD, the FireDAC connection component. You then add one or more drivers, and that driver then has whatever keys you need in there, or you give your user the ability to type in the API keys and their account details, and then it will link off. That driver will link off to OpenAI server, Gemini code server, and all the rest of it. What does that mean? Well, it's a single component for you, regardless of which AI your customer uses. These are for you using your apps. It's a set of internal drivers that does the mapping for you. So you write your code one way and it will work with any type of AI out there. It allows you to set configuration in your application itself, or you could put some settings pages in so that you allow users to put their own information in. There's a connection wizard just like FireDAC, and we're going to add new drivers as they come along as well, but also you can create your own just like you can with anything else. What does it offer you? Well, some very cool functionality. You can ask it for a text query. So you can say, let's say you're writing an ERP system or something like that, where you want to get some information about a particular company. And so you query ChatGPT and ask it, return a page of information about Embarcadero, for example. It can then return that as a text query if that's what you wanted. Or you might say, well, what I want to do is allow the user to produce their own little profile picture and do it as a cartoon, so a Delphi type cartoon or something like that, with the Delphi helmet on, you know, that famous Spartan helmet. And so you send an image request and it will return back a T image. Okay. And Rico says, I remember you saying at the Embarcadero conference, triskaidekaphobia all the time. Yes, I did. That's the fear of the number 13. And we went ahead to do 13. So yes, an image request, and it will return a T image. And by the way, I will answer everybody's questions at the end. And that could be, you know, a PNG or a GIF or whatever it is, but that's handled internally. And the other thing you can do, which is really, really exciting, is you can ask it for structured data. So let's say, for example, you wanted to return a database. You ask the AI to return back a table or database of all of the schools in Portugal that teach English, for example. And it comes back with a database, a table of that information. You can ask it for that, and it will return it as internally as, I think, JSON table or something like that. I am not sure, but it's structured, so you can literally run queries on it and treat it just as if it was a regular database. So text, images, and structured data is a very cool feature. It is not available right now. We are delivering it via Get It. The reason that it's going to be delivered via Get It is we hope to add on top of this. And also, the world of AI is changing so quickly. It would be stupid to say, oh, we'll just do it in the releases. So let's make changes in version 13, and then you have to wait for version 13.1 to catch up, and then version 13.2 to catch up again. No, we actually want to do this via Get It so that we can push changes out of bandwidth to catch up with any changes in AI as things progress, because we are very certain that AI is such a hot topic. It's going to change more frequently than we can do releases of RAD Studio. So very big new feature, and it's imminent. We are hoping to deliver it possibly today or in the next couple of days at the most. It's almost ready. We're still doing some tests on it. Request components for different data types and processes, which I talked about, and JSON or structured data requests as well. So it's a JSON table, effectively. You can then use your JSON handling to convert it to other things. It can also do audio content as well, so you can upload audio and then receive back a translation, for example, or text or something like that. You can also upload text query and receive audio back. So you could say, convert this into a voiceover, for example, and let's say that the AI is capable of taking my audio and translating it into Portuguese, an audio file in Portuguese. If the AI can do that, then you could do that. You could send it the text of something I've said, and it would return it back as audio. And it works with all the controls that you expect: text, images, edit boxes, memos, anywhere where you can put data. This will work as well. There is a preview as well. We've got some demos happening. Like I say, these are coming shortly. We're nearly ready. We hoped to be ready when we release 13, but it wasn't quite ready, and we don't want to release something that's broken. So, yeah, I'll answer that later. Platforms, RTL and data. There is some changes in there. For example, with Windows 11 and 10 are the officially supported ones. Windows Server 2025 and 2022, you can target both 32-bit and 64-bit with the IDE, whether it's 64-bit or 32-bit. Delphi, currently we have not yet returned the mobile platforms to C++. We are hoping to do that at some point in the future, but we're not ready. These slides were prepared before the Apple event, so officially we support iOS 18. The Apple event overlapped within a few days with us. There is a blog post going out today that tells you that actually you can also use iOS 26, you know, the cool version. If you've got your phone updated, as I have, to iOS 26, I can tell you it works with iOS 26 RAD Studio. You just need to make a couple of changes, but there'll be a blog post today about that. And also Mac OS 26 as well. So they're moving their version numbers up. Officially, we support Mac OS 14 Sonoma and Mac OS 15 Sequoia, Intel and ARM. I personally use a Mac ARM M4. It's sitting behind my shoulder. If you can see my camera, it's there by Spock. And it's very great. I use a Windows 11 Pro running under Parallels, and it's Windows 11 Pro ARM, and it works. RAD Studio works absolutely fine on that. We also support the latest version of Android. We didn't need to make any changes. We already did that. We also support Ubuntu Linux 24 and 22, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Windows WSL2, so Linux on Windows. I recommend, if you're doing any Windows development and you want to do some Linux, use WSL2 and put Ubuntu or Debian on there, and it will work fine. How are we doing for time? Oh, 20 minutes. Good, we're good. The target remains the same for Android. It's API level 35, and I'm going to try and leave myself 10 minutes for questions and things like that. So I might cut these slides short. And we cleaned up the iOS API, and like I say, there is a blog post coming out today, because if you target iOS 26 with Xcode 26, there are two frameworks you need to add. They're very easy to add. It's the AV, let me just see what it's called. AV, I can't find it at the moment, but it's AV platform, something or other, I can't remember, and then another one as well. Once you add those on, it works fine, and it takes 2 seconds to do. But the blog post will explain that. I wrote the blog post, so I know it's coming out. Windows API cleanup, including updated Windows RT APIs. So if you do want to target Windows RT, go ahead and do that. And we refreshed the classic Windows API WinMD projection. Some people like this, and actually Microsoft seemed to have gone very cold on their own development for some reason. They made a lot of people redundant. They made over 35,000 developers redundant in the last 6 months. So yeah, I don't know what's happening there. And updated the Web 2 View 2 controls and to the integrated T-Edge browser as well, so that you got the latest versions, and that works. The Web View 2 works on everything, and just enhances the experience in general. Some changes I'm going to skip over, but some improved JSON processing and a few RTL improvements as well, and web client libraries. Database RTL, again, I'm going to skip over those because of time, and some additional FireDAC drivers. So supporting OS 2 is quite important for Oracle, and some record skipping and a few other things as well for FireDAC. In a couple of weeks' time, you're going to hear me talking about Interbase 15. There is already a webinar for that. If you're into Interbase and you use it or you're considering using it, you should probably sign up for that webinar, because you're going to hear some of the changes on it. There's quite a lot going on, but once Interbase 15 is out, you'll already be able to use Interbase 15 developer version in there. UI libraries, again, I'm going to have to skip over these purely because of time, but we've got some vCell updates. This one is probably the most popular one, and that is that you can now style your title bar and use style colors. It just makes the components that you drop on your title bar look like they belong. Before, it didn't really do a very good job of it. It worked, but it wasn't that great. Now with the style colors, you can override them, and as you can see from the animated option there, it's very cool. It does some really exciting stuff. You can drop a load of controls on that title bar you couldn't before. So now it's really kind of catching up with some of the other things you could do with .NET applications. And in fact, there probably isn't. I mean, I challenge people with .NET to show me something that they think they can do, we can't do, and I will show you that we can do it, and we can do it without requiring lots of updates. And also, once you've done it, you can put your Delphi app onto or a C++ app onto a memory drive and run it straight from there. You can't do that with the .NET app, so good luck, Microsoft, competing against us. But that's how it works. So very cool buttons. The menu, again, small change, but actually quite important one. The action main menu bar now supports scrolling, which it didn't before, and also the forms tab bar improvements, so transparency and things like that. We actually fix a number of bugs in the Microsoft MDI support. They haven't done it, we have. And it just makes it, if you do MDI, then some of the things that we've added are actually very, very useful to you. We've also included integration of the UI automation Microsoft interfaces. We're going to have a webinar about this and some documentation and a blog post, because it allows you to use UI automation to drive your Delphi and C++ Builder apps remotely. Why is that useful? Well, if you are doing UI testing, so not unit testing, but actual functionality testing of your user interface, then the fact that the UI automation interface exists is very useful for people that have disabilities for eyesight and things like that. But also it means that you'll be able to do automated user interface testing. Like I say, there will be a webinar showing this. It's planned in a couple of weeks' time. It'll be me presenting it. We will be converting all of these slides into Portuguese, and we'll make sure that a lot of the webinars, where possible, will be translated into Portuguese as well. We think Portuguese is one of our most important languages, and like I say, we have a couple of guys that are actually based in Portugal. So hey, you know, you're our favourites. And also there are 30 billion Brazilian programmers out there who also understand Portuguese. I know it's not the same version of Portuguese, but you guys can understand each other just the same as an American can understand a British person. FireMonkey display link service. This is one of those features that's kind of hidden in the text there, but it's actually very important. It will make your animations much quicker and much smoother. It links into the platform native APIs like JChoreographer and CA Display Link on iOS. What this means is that the animations are extremely smooth and very, very high res. And it also improves the responsiveness of your applications. And it means that everything is dealt with by the part of iOS and the part of Android that's designed to make animations happen, and a few other things as well. So it's the display link service. Like I say, it's buried in all these listings here, but this is a big deal, this display link service. It's very important. FMX mask, get it? Well, yeah, whatever. And you know, presented scroll box enhancements. Enhanced spell checking, it's very important if you need it. More and more people now expect your applications to do spell checking as you go along. A line layout and application events component. Again, one of those ones buried in there, but very, very useful. The ability for the application events component to handle some new event handling capability. So display link and application events components, I'd call those out as significant changes. A combo box autocomplete and GPU accelerated bitmap copying, just about performance enhancement really, and going from there. FMX Linux has been updated. We now maintain this, and every time we do a build of RAD Studio, we also update it in update the FMX Linux as well. We've also updated the Skier for Delphi to use the most recent version of Skier, which is very important. And so you've now got as good as anybody else out there. So Flutter, oh, you can do this in Flutter. Really? You can do this in RAD Studio as well, and Delphi. And we've updated the web browser component. I think we mentioned that earlier on as well. We've improved the FMX Linux integration, and we're going to do a lot more. If you've got an enterprise edition, then you can get it from there. I'm not sure if all of you are aware of this, but the developer of FMX Linux passed away earlier this year unexpectedly, a young guy, and it was horrible. But we've since negotiated with his widow, and we now have taken this in-house, and so FMX Linux is maintained by us in-house. So it's still owned by his estate, but it's a first-class thing that we deliver. It's still delivered by Get It, but it's under our control now. And a few other things as well, like that's a rather cool. That's one of my demos actually. That's a little joke. If people don't know who Apollo's dolphin is, there is a legend in Greek mythology that Apollo rode a dolphin to the people of Delphi. So there you go. That's a little private joke in there. Full screen support for iOS, edge-to-edge support for Android. Again, if you don't know what that means, then it just means nothing to you. But if you have been waiting for it, it's ready to go. A session request and a few other things to do with Web Broker. We've pretty much run out of time, so we'll skip over these. But the session managers are probably the most important thing in Web Broker. Very, very useful. It was a missing thing in Web Broker. And the reason it's important is for web stencils, which is my #1 favorite feature that we put into 12.3. We've added and enhanced some abilities of web stencils. If you've never tried using web stencils before, I really, really recommend you do. Try it with Web Broker. It is awesome. You can now access dataset properties directly, and you can have nested properties. There are lots and lots of demos coming along, so I won't go too much into it, but you can do all sorts of very cool things. And you can also include that session data in web stencils that you couldn't before. You can also include things like authentication and whether someone is an admin on your page or however you want to give it their title. And you can access directly objects stored in data vars as well. Again, so if you had just a class called My People, you could expose that to web stencils and access My People directly in the HTML. If you give the documentation for web stencils, a cheat sheet of web stencils to a HTML developer, within an hour, under an hour, they will know how to write HTML programs that work with web stencils. They carry on writing all their web pages just the way they did before. You do your Delphi stuff behind the scenes. It's a marriage made in heaven and helps future-proof you. It's more powerful than ever, I think. So I'm going to leave it there, I think, in terms of going through. Now, George is around all day, I'm sure, and will answer questions. And Yao, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name properly now. But,
oh, yes.
Yao, yeah, okay. So I'm kind of, he's around as well, but our newest MVP.
I'm here.
Good. They'll be able to answer some questions as well about what's going on. And stop sharing on my screen and go back to me in beautiful, glorious Technicolor. So you should be able to see me. Let me just minimize some of my screens down so I can actually see what's going on. Here we go. There. Okay. So we had a few questions asked.
Yes.
And some of them were in Portuguese. Yeah.
Very few.
Yeah. So I'll just cover the ones that came up in English, because obviously I can. Carlos, hello, Carlos, said hi, and lots of people congratulating Cal as well, Yol, on becoming an MVP. Good job, well deserved. A few others were saying hi to everybody. Glad I'm there. Speaking Portuguese very well. Sim, is it Sim? That means yes, or something like that. So. See, I'm perfect now.
Right.
Fluent.
See?
Yeah, good. That's as far as I can get. Okay, so let's start with. In fact, what I think I'll do, I'll let. Danilo says I often use the Control-Shift-A find unit function, and I noticed it's no longer showing up in Delphi Florence. Yes, this was part of the things we had to remove. It was actually driven by the refactoring library. If you add MMX Explorer, then you'll find that you can do way more than it ever did. It is there, and you can do that as well. And whilst we're talking, I'm just going to find the PAS format function so that I can put it in the chat. It's here. There you go. Multitasking. So the as I said before, we had to remove the code refactoring and the formatting. I definitely recommend using MMX Explorer. We've tested it thoroughly, and it basically does more than you've lost in the refactoring and the finding. It's got navigation in it, and it's great. We're going to have a webinar. Probably the first webinar I do when I start doing webinars again will be on MMX Explorer. There are going to be webinars specifically in Brazilian Portuguese, Spanish, Japanese, Korean, and English, obviously, as well. So don't worry, we'll teach you all about MMX Explorer, and you'll find how you can get those functions back you're missing. If you look in the chat window, there
is a question about. Sorry, there is a question here about smart coding inside. If anytime soon it will be having an agent to use the IDE tools. That's one in Portuguese.
Yeah. Okay. So the smart code insight, we're still doing some more work on that. If you've got a feature you want to request, if you go to the quality portal, just as if you were reporting a bug, you can choose one of them. And if you're not sure what that is, go to Embarcadero support, and there's a thing there. But there's an option that says request. If you type that request in, it will go to the PMs and myself. And if you particularly want me to pay attention to it, once you've reported the bug, email me, and I'm going to put my email address in the chat, because I get a lot of emails, but you will find, and George will tell you this as well, if you email me, I will probably answer within the hour, and certainly the same day or the next day. I have to sleep sometimes, so I'm 6 hours time different from you guys.
Yeah, you better do.
Yeah, for me right now it's 9 o'clock in the morning. But if you've got a question that we don't answer now, feel free to ask me. If you don't speak English very well, ask it in Portuguese, and I'll get someone like George or Yao to translate it for me. But we have plenty of Portuguese speaking people anyway. Plus, hey, AI translates it. So yes, there are some changes we're planning for Smart Code Insight, and we do intend to do a lot more with it. We have a special dedicated meeting that we have about AI. That's how important we think AI is. So yes, there will be a lot more AI stuff. The Smart Code AI components will be today or tomorrow, we hope, but as soon as we can.
Yeah. 1 minute, please. Pessoal, para quem não entendeu, se vocês tiverem alguma questão e quiserem enviar para mim ou para o João, agora o João MVP, envie e quiser fazer perguntas para o Ian, envia um e-mail para a gente e a gente depois encaminha para o Ian responder e enviamos para vocês novamente. Tá bem?
And actually, what we can do as well is George and Joel. I'm going to keep saying your name differently until it sounds right. But what we can do, guys, is actually we might do a special off-camera chat. So you can ask me some questions, and we'll record this, and then you can then do some explanations in Portuguese, and then we'll send it out to the people here separately as a little mini webinar Q&A session, so that everybody gets a chance to ask the questions. But there's George's email there. The other question that was asked was, will there be an IDE for Mac OS? I'm going to answer that anyway because it's asked quite often.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one. And in fact, as you can see behind me, if you can see my camera, that's Spock, because I'm a Star Trek guy, but that's a Mac. And I love Macs, and I love iOS. If you use Parallels at the moment, you can definitely use RAD Studio in Parallels on your Mac using Windows 11 Pro ARM. In fact, that's what I have. Are we going to do an IDE? We are looking into the idea of using Mac IDE. At the moment, we have nothing that we can talk about. I would like one myself, because then I could use a Mac and do my own coding on a Mac natively. But I can tell you with Parallels, you really won't know the difference. You can turn it into, I forget what they call it, coherent mode, where it appears as a window, but it works absolutely fine in Parallels. I'm sorry that there isn't a native version, but you can use a Mac. I use it all the time. That is now my main laptop. I love it. I think Apple do great laptops. They're really expensive. You have to sell a kidney or a liver or something to afford one, but they're the best laptops out there. So,
Ian, I have a similar question regarding the PA server. Is there any change? Are we going to need to install a different version of PA server to work with the different platforms?
Yes. Okay. So the answer to that is yes. But as soon as you go to try and use the old PA server with the new Delphi 13, it will tell you. Now, I have on my, now I do some programs for a charity. They are visiting nurses. They go and hold the hands of people who are dying, literally. And so I feel that that's kind of an important service they provide to the public in the United States, because as you know, healthcare is not free. And so I produce an application for them for free. It's I test it on here. And that application at the moment is in 12.3. And so I had to make a change on Tuesday for them. And I used RAD Studio 12.3 on that Mac. On the same Mac, I was creating demos with 13. So you can have both of them running at the same, on the same machine. You can have them running at the same time. You need to use a different port number. But it's easier if you just swap between the two. That's how I do it, because you're not really going to have both IDEs. But have them both installed, and then if you go into applications, there's the PA server, and it works fine, absolutely fine. So no problem. Behind you, is that the real Roman Centurion helmet with the red crest? That's this one here. That was actually a gift from Jim McKeith. I'm sure many of you remember him. I also, just to make everybody laugh, Jim came to visit me, and he said, "Hey, I have a present for you." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" He said, "Well, you've got the helmet that I gave you." He said, "Well, now I've given you the Spartan sword to go with it."
That's so cool. Said, that's very cool.
Let's go out into the parking lot and have a sword fight. So there is a video of Jim and I sword fighting with Roman Centurion swords. So he's crazy. Jim is like a little bit around, but that is where that helmet comes from. Yeah, it's I have to have it. I'm a Delphi guy, so, and that's actually a Japanese katana there. So yeah. Welcome to Texas. Yeah. Okay. So look, I don't want to use up everybody's time, but we will answer all your questions. George will make sure that the questions come to me. If there's anything you ever want to ask me anyway, separately, feel free to email me. You know my email address, it's in the chat. And I'm always here. This is my job, to deal with developers like you. I am a developer. I get up every day and I still write code, even now. I am very busy, but I still write code. And if I couldn't write code every day, I would probably stop doing this and go back to coding, because I've been a developer for 42 years and I can't undo that now. So that's it.
Yes, I know you are very busy, but you always are available for help us. And
100%.
For that,
I'm never too busy to answer emails. I'd rather ignore the boss and answer emails from people, and I mean that seriously. And if the boss doesn't, I'm very lucky. IDERA are very generous to me. They don't tell me what to say, and they tell me what to do. They trust me not to be crazy and give away secrets, but they recognize that what I do is very important. That is, I'm a software developer talking to you people. If you email me, I will answer. I will never ignore you. I will answer. Sometimes I'll say, we can't answer this, or I need to talk to someone else, but I'm always there for all of you. So.
Yes, I know that. Thank you so much, Jan. You be here, and we will.
For the big surprise.
Yes,
of course, I can express my gratitude. I'm very grateful to you, George and Jan. But
no, I'm grateful
it is
to you guys.
More than an honor, is a great responsibility to the community.
You just keep doing what you do. People are saying, what do I need to do as an MVP? Do what you do. George is very hard working. And by the way, you can't hear me clapping because of noise cancellation, but George is one of our most hardworking MVPs. I'm very, very grateful for what he does.
Thank you.
He makes my life a lot easier, and it's the same with both of you. You're both very hardworking, and I appreciate everything you do. And actually, whilst we're at it, I appreciate the developers on this conference as well. I am a developer. I know I'm the face of Embarcadero. I know I'm fairly senior in the company, but actually I will always be. One day I won't work for Embarcadero. I'm sure that will happen one day. Hopefully I'll be very, very old, but one day I won't. But someone's put a picture. I collect knives. There's a whole load of them. We start talking about knives, we'll be here forever. But
yes.
But anyway, I'll always be a developer. So you're talking to someone who understands the bad parts of the ID and the good parts. So.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I try to do my best, because I love what I do. I love Delphi. I love to develop in Delphi, and it's a pleasure to have Mr. John, to take part in this group, and that's it. That's it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No worries.
I think the people like it a lot, this presentation.
Well, maybe we'll do another one again soon. I'm happy to do these, more regularly. I'm quite happy to do that. I'm always here for helping out and things like that. So
let's schedule another video to record for YouTube. To talk you and João and me, and record not only about code, but your
personal experience.
Yes, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do that.
Let's do that.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and good luck with your next speaker. I don't want to steal all their time. They'll be sad.
The next presentation is Cesar Romero. And that's it. Thank you, thank you, Jan. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right. Bye, everybody.
See you soon.
Bye.